Now we're going to give you a basic overview of the control. Up here we have the Ensign Status. This in the auto mode will show you that it's running. Slide hold, if you hit a slide hold, it will tell you that you're a slide hold. Program stop, that's the end of program. Limit, which basically means that the turret is at its limit, or during each line of the G-code, when the tool comes down to what you program is the limit of that line, this will flash momentarily. The alarm will come on if there's an alarm for a load monitor, whether it's just hitting the warning or if it actually stopped the machine to preserve the tool. The alarm will come on. There will be an alarm. It'll give you a number like an A, B, or C with a number behind it, a letter then a number. This book is clear full of alarm error codes so that you can diagnose what the problem is. Okay? This machine does 3,000 diagnostic checks per second the entire time the machine is auto when it's running. And to clear an alarm, just press Control Reset. That's what the alarm is for. Now let's go through here. You have an auto mode. Okay? That's for running automatic. You can look in the auto mode and you can actually look at different screens. Okay? Actual position. There's different screens for actual position. They're handy. I generally run stand over here, standard graphics, enter, and it will run the graphics for each process. That way when I'm running I can actually see what process I'm in. If I'm using a saw and cutting apart, if I'm running a milling machine at the same time, I can glance over and look at where I'm at. But you can also look at it in auto position. You can page down. And this gives you information. It shows the program as it's running. The cursor is where it's actually running, what line it's reading. You can look at the actual X position. This is kind of handy. XD, that means distance to go. So if you look at a path and say your X is going to go down the face, it will tell you how much to go before it ends that G-code line. In other words, if you told it to go down the face and go to an X0, it will be numbers backwards. It will start at like say 2-inch block, it'll go 2 and then 1.5 inches accurately, all the way to 0. It will tell you how far to go. The actual Z distance for the part and the Z distance to go. Handy when you're trying to do big deep pockets and there's chips bound in there and you're not sure if you want to pull it out and clear the chips on the first part, the setup, or maybe you only have 5 thousandths to go. Just let it run. Okay? So then you have tools up, and you have a spindle speed. The S is a spindle speed. So that's one of the pages that you can look at. Never use this, but this is just some Chuck FZ. Some people like to use that. Machines this is just stuff that you can look at if you want to change things later on. But again, actual position or standard graphics. Alright? You can also change the graphics by going, let's see here. In auto, you can go to standard graphics. You can also enlarge and reduce the scale. If I want to go enlarge the scale, you go arrow down. Now it's a page down. I'm going to have to learn this one. Oh, frame reduce. Page. We'll get to that. I'm sorry. It writes its own. It tends to write its own size properly. We'll get to that. All right. MDI, manual data input. Input data, like as an example, spindle speed of 500, M3, enter. All it does is write it in the computer so that when you go back to the manual mode and you hit spindle clockwise, it turns on up to 500 RPM. So I went manual data input data S100, M3, enter. And back into manual, turn the spindle on, it only goes 100. Okay, so that's how that's done. Manual data input. Manual. Spindle on. Control reset. In the manual mode, I can run the turret around. Up on the X, back on the Z. I can also change the feed rate at which I run those arrows from very slow, very fast. If it's going to actual position, there goes slow, there goes fast. That's where I change that. I'm running it around with the arrows. I can go into the Z on 1/10 of a thousandth per click. It runs tenths. If I go into thousandths, it'll do 1,000 per click or 5 thousandths. That speeds up and slows down. That's for touching the tools off. When you're first touching your tools off, your tool data sheet, that's how you run it around to work with the material. Okay? Let's see here. Manual, Again, that's your manual mode. Edit auxiliary. Okay, here's where we can do some things. We can look at the directory. If we want to see what programs we have in there, we go directory, asterisk, enter. Brings up all the programs that we have so we know what's in there. Or in edit auxiliary, we can go edit, asterisk, which means look at them all, enter. And it does the same thing, but now it lets us go ahead and go pick one with the arrows down, enter. You can move up and down and you can actually edit G-code from here. Okay? So edit auxiliary does those two things. Also PIP, whatever that stands for, that is for transferring programs either out or in. Read, you hit read and then you go back to your computer and send it. If you went read enter, which I'm not going to do, it would be on standby. It would let you transfer the ASCII codes of the save, which is the saved program from your computer, and it'll fill it up and write that. If you were messing around at your computer and you found out that you spent too much time, there's actually an air out time. After a couple of minutes, it quits on you. Punch. Okay? Let's go back to the auxiliary. PIP. This is punch. And if you get your computer ready to receive and you hit punch enter, it'll transfer it to the computer. Okay? And here's where you can copy programs or verify, which is through graphics. But PIP quick gets you out of it. So we have directory we use, the PIP we use for tape in and out, edit, how much free memory space, list, IGF. We're going to get into IGF later, but if we go into IGF, this is the actual function for writing a program using the interface graphics, IGF, interface graphics, and it's like a CAD/CAM program built into this machine. We're going to get to that in another video. You get there from edit auxiliary, okay, edit quick. Parameters. We're not going to mess with parameters because you basically need to leave these alone, but there is things that you can change in it, like how fast the spindle speeds up, how fast the spindle speed slows down. That's about the only thing I've ever adjusted and had to do a lot of reading in the manuals, not this one, but a lot of the manuals to figure out that one. Okay, zero set. This is where we set the turret position according to the material and how far it's sticking out. When we do which will show you a tool setup, when you take a tool number one as an example, CNMG 80 degree, you're going to come down and you're going to do a face. After you face, you come leave the Z where it's at, come the X out of the way so it's not rubbing on the part, and you would come in here and you would go calculate right. And what that's going to do is going to change that number. But when you look at the tool data sheet, we're going to get up into the tool data sheet, that number is going to correlate with where you started the part, where you set that turret. Remember that when you come out in the morning, you start the machine up, the first thing you do is you put the material in, truck off material, you load your tools in according to your setup sheet, you go down and you run that face. In the morning, after you turn the machine off, it always defaults to the X position for the cursor. A little bit dangerous because when you first do that face cut, arrow over and you're going to set the turret Z position as its material, the tool number one, 0 position. That's where you go calculate right. If you go calculate right while it's in the X, that number will change and no longer will the center of the spindle line up with the ID tool holder. It's a good idea that when this machine has been checked, the center of the ID tool holders are exactly in line with the center of the spindle. Take a piece of tape or a sticky note or in a binder and write that number down and call it offset X. If you ever change that by mistake, all you have to do is write it in again, and then the turret knows exactly again where the center of an ID tool holder is or the center of the spindle. Okay, so that is for your zero set. Tool data. Okay, this is where we do most of the work. There's 3 different screens that we'll use. An item up or down changes screens. Tool data here, the graphics that it looks at, and load monitor. So let's go down again. Tool data. Tool number 1. Okay, tool number 1, what's the X position, what's the Z position? Let's call this an 80-degree rougher. We'll look at the graphics next. But we're going to take it, since we faced off and got our 0 set, if we haven't moved the Z, all we have to do is go calculate right or set 0. So that it looks at the turret position when you face, and you told it it's exactly the same tool at the same position that you did your skim cut. Then you're going to come over and do a little tiny machining on the OD, so there's no flat spots right around. You're going to take and move the Z-axis back only. You're going to stop the spindle. You're going to get in there and mic it with a mic. Let's just say that was 2 inches, but you mic'd it 1.71. You're going to come over to the X and you're going to go calculate 1.71, enter. And that number is going to change. And what that number is it's going to tell you the bottom of this insert is exactly that number from the center line of your spindle. So it knows how much it has to jump up for that tool. And so on and so on. Okay? This might be a finish tool. Same thing. Bring it down, do a witness mark on the face barely, get out of the way. It's on the Z, go calculate right, and it'll tell you where that turret position is for that tool so that that tool hits the face. Come over, top, bring it down very gently, make a tiny witness mark. Come over here, go calculate 1.71, so it's the same as what the OD is. Enter. It'll write a number in. It knows exactly how far that turret is up in the center line to be able to machine that OD with that tool. Okay? Here's if you want to do profiling. You can touch it off. There's actually I've done this before, and I actually had to use AutoCAD to tell you how far over when you come up 200 thousandths to find out that point. That's something we'll teach you later. Okay? So far, here we got a drill. That drill is a slightly smaller drill than an 1 3/4. The manufacturer says set the X to 0 and machine that drill in there. So here we're going to go set 0, enter. I can go set 0.1. And it says that it's got to go up, but it's going to be offset for this drill by the manufacturer spec. Set it to 0 again. Now it's saying that the center of the drill or the center of the tool holder is lined up in the center of the spindle. Come up, make sure it's going the right directions for the inserts. Typically when you face that off and you move this up, you have to turn it. If you look at it, you'll have to turn the turret in the opposite direction to grab these lower inserts. It's going the wrong way. You're going to bring the drill up, come over, touch off, make a witness mark, calculate right. And it's going to tell you exactly where that turret is when that drill hits that front edge. Okay? Same thing as an OD tool. Z, calculate right. X, witness mark. Calculate whatever that measures. Boring mark. Come up here on the Z, touch off, bring it down into a hole. Z, calculate right. I usually machine a little pass so it's clean. Get it out of the way on the Z only, not the X. Measure with calipers and write calculate whatever it was, enter, and it'll tell me that offset so that that tool machines exactly what I told it to machine. Okay? Another ID bar, same thing with an ID groover, an ID rougher, and so on. Okay, now let's go to the next one. Here we set is graphics. If we want to set tool number 1 and we want it to be a rougher, we're going to go up here and we're going to tell, this is just for graphics. Set 80. That's an 80-degree C&M unit. It's 80 degrees here. Its edge angle is 3 degrees back. It's sticking out 1.5 inches. That's just for graphics. I don't want to say 0 because it'll move the graphics up to here and you'll never see it when it's in the graphics mode for auto. I always set OD tools to 1.5. Don't ever touch this, but these are tool number 1 is offset 1. You can also have tool number 1 offset 21. It knows that. That's so you can change things in the tool data so that you can lie to it and say it's not a number 2 radius, which is 0.03 run, and it might be actually 40,000 radius, or you're trying to make a different arc. That's so you can lie to it without, I say lie to it, but you can change it so it'll machine different with the same tool. Don't bother with those. Okay? The next thing is load monitoring. We're going to explain load monitoring in a minute, but in the tool data, this is where you can look at and adjust load monitoring. So let's explain load monitoring real quick. In the program, every process, which is a tool, the machining process that that tool does is called a process. If you have, I'm doing page up. Process number 1. In the program, it will say BLMON equals a number. IGF writes because it's asked you. Do you want to load monitor the amps that it took to machine down a face on the X, or number 2, which is the Z, or 3, which is a spindle, or if it wrote in you want to do both of those, 1 plus 2 equals 3, and when it says BLMON equals 3, it's going to monitor both of these axes. If you did 11, it's 7 plus 3 is 11, and excuse me, well whatever it is, it'll write it in there for you. It'll monitor them all, but that is actually going to be in the line of programming in G code that tells it to monitor. Here in tool data, even though it monitors for the first process, it's going to write what it actually did for amps. It's going to preset a distance for a warning in case the inserts are wearing out. And that red line means if it hits those kind of amps, shut this machine off so you don't bust your tool holders. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and the first time I run the first part, I will run auto set, and it will set and it will read all those amps at every single process. Tool number 2, process 2. Tool number 3, process 3. It'll write those figures. What I'll generally do is won't change the first one, but let's just say that I'm in process 1. On the X, I always go add 1 right. I went to 36. It moved it over to give me a little bit of leeway as the tool wears. Then I go down to the second limit, and I always go add 2 enter. And it pops it out because you'll generally get way too many errors. It'll still be safe. You won't crash, you won't hit the machine quick stop unless you absolutely have to. And I'll do that for every process. I'll come into process 2, I'll go up on process 1 and add 1. Limit 2, add 2. And I'll move those out. If it was on the Z, if I was monitoring the Z with a boring bar, I would come over to the Z axis. Add 1, come down, add 2. And it moves them out, okay? So that would be for the Z. This monitors the spindle. I've never really monitored the spindle, but you can if you needed to, okay? So that's how the tool data works. So we've got tool data set for when you first touch your tools off, put in those radius comps, do the graphics for what the tool looks like, what zone it's in, 0 set for when you first touch off the first part according to the material you got. Edit auxiliary is edit the programs, manual mode, manual data input, and auto. Okay? So that's the basics on the control. One of the things we're going to look at now is the secondary basics on the control. Again, arrows in the manual mode, run the turret around this way, or we can pick X and Z, and how many thousands per click. We can turn the spindle on clockwise, counterclockwise. We can jog it so that it barely jogs if there was a reason to do that. And you can stop the spindle from here. Coolant. Auto for the auto run. It reads an M8 in the program. It'll turn it on when it's told to turn on. If it reads at the end of a process, M9, it turns it off when it sees the M9. If you're going to do tool setup, and let's just say that you've got to rough something that needs coolant, or more likely a big drill, insert drill is going to go in and pre-make a pocket so you come back with the ID boring bars and do your tool set off, you'll turn manual coolant on. Don't bother with these. It's got nothing to do with this machine. This is for mechanical gearbox, high and low. This has a electrical double wound motor, and it will read high and low in G-code. Okay, load monitor. Again, you set it for the first time you run it. You turn the set off, and you run load monitor on when you're doing each one process so that you can monitor tool wear and a crash. Light. Turn a light. Turns the light on inside. Turn it off. I usually keep it off when it's running. Turret. This turns the turret. It will only turn the turret if you run it all the way up, at least in the X, all the way away from the chuck so it doesn't spin around and hit the chuck. So that's how you run that. Single block. Run one line at a time. Block delete I don't do. Option and stop I don't do because I don't program those in. Dry run, that's the graphics we don't care about. But machine interlock is very important. Machine interlock, and what it does, you cannot push it, it does nothing. It actually tells you to turn this light on. Machine interlock, and then machine lock. And what that will do is it will still let you run the program, but it won't run the machine. Let me show you how important that is. Program select. I'm going to go down here and hit Z and enter. I'm going to extend over to standard graphic. Now, watch this. With interlock on, I'm going to start, and it's actually going to run that part. And I'm going to do this before if I run a new program, I'll watch this. And the reason this is important, because not only is it showing you the graphics, but it's looking at the tool offsets, the nose radius comps. And if you did like a grooving and your nose radius comps can't be done because it'll hit something, this will actually air out and tell you that. And I can proofread it and see what's going on exactly as it's running. And know that I made a mistake programming before I actually go over there into the part. It's also telling you the line that it's in, the end number. That's the line in the G-code it's in. So that's why machine interlock is important. Let's stop this program. Okay? So reset stops it. And now we're back into this mode. Alright? Machine interlock off. Mid-auto manual. Now that's real important. Because there's times when you're running along and you say to yourself, hey, this doesn't sound good. I got to do something with the coolant. I got to adjust the nozzle so we get more chips out of here. You can go ahead and hit slide hold, machine interlock, like mid-auto manual, because you don't need machine interlock like that. Mid-auto manual. Make sure you turn load monitor. If it's on, turn it off. That way it doesn't load, doesn't monitor the amps to pull that Z-axis back to get that boring bar out of there. Because there's too many amps in rapid or whatever speed you run, and it'll actually tell the machine he thinks it has a crash and it'll stop like that. You want to keep the spindle running, you want to back it out of there so you don't do any damage. Just go mid-auto, turn the mid-auto manual on. I usually go to coolant manual. I run the Z-axis back, okay? I'll stop the spindle, I'll turn the coolant off, and then I'll take and run it out, rotate around the turret, look at my insert, yep, it's bad. Change the insert, bring it back around to the position that it was for next tool up. I will run the boring bar down to close to where it was, outside the part here. If it started in a hole, start the boring bar below the level, because it's going to go up inside and hit that last point. It remembers that last point. And as soon as you hit cycle, once it reaches that point, if you hit cycle start, it'll continue to bore. If you stop it here, it'll go right through the material and bust your bar. Same thing for ID. If you were IDing it like this, and it stopped and you said, I want to change an insert, for whatever reason, you do the same thing. I usually go coolant manual, mid-auto manual, move that out, bring the tool out, get it up in the home position, rotate it, look at the insert, change it, rotate the turret back to the next stop up, and bring it down manually until it's above the part and out. And in mid-auto manual, I go sequence restart, and once I hit sequence restart, and hit cycle start, it'll come right down to the last point. So the sequence restart is when it's up here, that's how you get it to go to the last position. It won't do it on its own by hitting cycle start. It'll go to sequence restart. It'll go on that line number right where it begins and then hit cycle start and it'll continue. And we'll train a little bit more on that. So that sequence restart, mid-auto manual is good, optional stop. And we're going to show you something here real quick. We're in auto. We are not in interlock. This will actually run the part. If I turn this on, turn the spindle on, and I hit cycle stop. Now, the cycle stop is in that line number, and the next thing it wants to do is go down and go to the next position, which I told it Z.1 and an X 100,000 above the part. I do not want it rapiding the very first part to go down there and do that. So what I'll do is I'll go into single block, and that allows me to override rapids. Turn this to 0. One hand on here and one hand on here. Now, if this is 0, if I hit cycle start, nothing happens. But if I take this and inch it down, that turret is now heading down to that part. And you can run it all the way down as slow as you want until it comes down. And if you know that you programmed the Z.1 and an X 100,000 part, you will see that part and you know that you're not going to run down there and crash. Each time you run a new program, do that sequence for every tool. Okay? Let's go control off, drop that, manual, get the turret out of the way. Okay? So that's how you run every process or tool process. For the first time you run the part, you know that you set the tool data correctly by doing that. So you set the tool data, you know, you run the first part.